Hi everyone, welcome to Simply Nail. This is a crochet and chat. I am here all unorganized. I am getting ready to work on a project today. And I was looking for a particular project I was going to work on, and the project was this granny blanket. And I think I showed you this blanket before, but I was going to work on this granny blanket, and I just realized that, obviously I don't watch my own videos because I have some yarn that I need to purchase in order to continue that particular project. So I will not be working on this right now. I'm taking like a break between projects or what have you, and it's one thing about us crocheters, and I want to know if this is you too. We start lots of projects, and then along the way we get bored and we stop. I don't like to use that word bored, because it's not that I have become bored with the project. One of three things have happened. I've become obsessed with something else, one, or number two, I've just ran out of yarn for this particular project and I need to, get a stash, create a stash. Or number three, I just lose my passion for it. And it's not that I'm bored or anything, it's just that I'm not as passionate about it anymore. My love tank has been depleted for this particular project, so I just go ahead and I put it aside. But I also realize and I recognize that there are several projects that I have started because I want to give those projects as a gift to other people. And that's another thing that happens to me. While I'm working on certain projects, I also have a business, and I'm also getting orders for that business. And the busiest time of year for me is the fall winter season. So I'm getting orders for wintry items such as scarves and blankets and shawls, cows, things of that nature. And so I'm busy working on projects that's paying me money, and the projects that that I'm doing, maybe for my personal benefit or as a gift to someone else, those items get put aside and I lose my passion for them, for working on them, and then they just pile up on me. And I'm sure that some of you have that same story as well. Did I already say welcome to my channel? This is Simply Nail. I hope so before I started talking. But that's what I have noticed about my projects, and why I have so many WIPs is because I lose passion for them, or business gets in the way, or I run out of yarn. But they're not too far away from my mind and my heart, and I know that I want to work on them, and I'll get to them eventually. But that's just me, and that's just what goes on in my tiny studio. Putting things away. It's kind of rainy outside. Yikes. I mean, I thought the rainy season was over here in Florida, but I guess not. We just have this crazy weather. So today I'm going to be working on this granny blanket that I started a while back. And the materials that I'm using, or that I use for this blanket, they are from my favorite yarn, which is the Hobby Lobby yarn. Oh, I just love Hobby Lobby's yarn. It's so soft and oh, all of those wonderful things. But this Granny's blanket also not only features the Hobby Lobby yarn, but it features some of the yarn from other projects that I have. Because that's one thing that I have learned in this whole crochet journey is that you can make tons and tons of projects and you will have leftover yarn. And at one point in my inexperience, I was just throwing the old, well, I should say I was throwing the leftover yarn away. Don't tell anybody I was doing that. I was literally throwing away leftover yarn. And here's the thing with yarn in particular. See, the thing is that you have to keep your yarn organized. And you have to also, you have to keep it organized in such a way that it doesn't become tangled. I mean, now if you're using Karen's Simply Soft, then you know your yarn is going to unravel, it's going to get tangled, it's going to be so difficult to unravel, it's going to be a hot mess. I've been there as well. But what I found is that when you finish a project, the best thing to do with your leftover yarn is to rewind it. There's something. And so what I did was, before I got a yarn winder, what I did was I would take leftover toilet paper tubes. Well, I should say leftover. I should say toilet paper tubes. After you use them, I would get them and I would wind my yarn around the toilet paper tube. And I have some examples of that still around here in the tiny studio. So this yarn right here is some yarn that I had from a previous project, but that project didn't come out the way I wanted it to, so I had to frog it, and I frogged it, and I took a toilet paper tube, and I just began to use that tube to turn the whole stack of yarn that I had into just a yarn ball. And that's what this is. This is a yarn ball, but it's yarn that's wrapped around a toilet paper tube. And before I bought my yarn winder, that's what I did with my yarn. And I would just take maybe a weekend, a day out of the weekend, and I would just take all of my yarn from previous projects and just put it on the winder and just wind it up into cakes or combine them. And I've done that as well. I've combined all of my yarn from leftover projects into one cake, and I think I have an example of that somewhere around. Oh, here we are. This is a cake that I put on my that I created with my yarn winder. So this was like leftover yarn that I had, and what I did was I went ahead and I used my yarn winder and just put all of the cakes together. And this particular cake that I created came from, oh, where's that? Came from a blanket I made maybe about 2 years ago. And this is the blanket. And it's just a lap blanket. This is the blanket. It's a lap blanket with a nice with a nice ruffled border. And I had leftover yarn from that, and this was the leftover yarn. It was the pink and the pink and the purple. And so what I did was I just caked everything up into this And I have something else that I did as well. And I kind of I was using this maybe about a month ago, so you see I really need to fix this. But if you can tell, this was yarn from another project, and it's like a Karen Simply Soft cream yarn. There's some orange in there, some brown, and some more orange. Actually, the entire cake was, well, the front of the cake had maybe about, I want to say maybe a few yards of the brown, and then, you know, in the project it would have been brown, and then it would have became cream, and then orange and brown again, and cream and white, all of that. And I made it into a cake, which is really cool, and this was all leftover yarn, but I decided to use it again. And when I used it, I can't remember what I was doing with this. I was doing something with this. I think it was a project, another Afghan, and I just only used a little bit, and you know, I basically destroyed it. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to rewind this, and I'll get to it. Maybe I'll do it this weekend. So here's another yarn, a yarn ball that I made, and this was another project, and it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. So I ended up frogging the whole project. How many times have you done that? I just went ahead and just frogged the whole project, and I took one of those tissue cardboard rolls, and I just took that and I used it to rewind or to create this yarn ball. That's what I did with it. So, and I really like this yarn. I can't remember what it is. I got it at Joann maybe about 4 years ago, and it's just so pretty. What I really liked about it is the color. It's like a beige, but then it has like it's beige and brown, and then it has these gold specks all the way through it. And so I just loved it so much, and I bought maybe about 4 or 5 skeins of this. I think it was on sale around the holidays or after the holidays about 4 years ago. But I had made a project, and I think it was a scarf or something, and it was something about the scarf that went awry, and I said, I don't like this. And what I did was I frogged it, and you know, all this yarn got tangled because there were like 2 skeins of it. So what I had to do was I had, you know, collected the tissue rolls, and so I just started, you know, rolling these, frogging and rolling the yarn back into a yarn ball. And that's what I did. And I do have here's the other one. I just love that so much. Can you see the brown and the gold specks in there? It's just so awesome. So yeah, before I actually went and invested in a yarn winder, this is how I was rolling up my balls. And you can see in this one, you can see the toilet paper roll in there, the cardboard from it. You can see it in here in this one. But I started making yarn balls to, you know, keep up with my yarn and to also keep myself from throwing away yarn. I also have a container that I use to catch all of my leftover yarn. So as you see that in here, I also, took some of that yarn, leftover yarn, I caked it, or I, wrap, put the, there's another cake. There's one that needs to be caked. Let's see. Yeah, and there are a couple at the bottom that needs to be caked as well. So I'll probably take a Saturday evening and sit down and, get my yarn winder out and recake all of that stuff. But that's what I did before I understood that I was supposed to take that yarn from other projects and not throw them away, but do something creative with them, or just put them aside because you could very well use them again. And when I started making granny squares, then some of those cakes from other projects, well, that yarn that I used for other projects, I was able to incorporate them into my granny squares. So what do you do with your unused yarn? Do you incorporate them into other projects, or do you make granny squares with them? What do you do with your unused yarn? Your unused yarn from other projects. And what I began to do was I began to take that yarn that I had, that leftover yarn, and I started making Granny Afghans with them. So this project not only has the Hobby Lobby yarn in here, but it also has yarn from other projects, such as, let's see, the blue, that's a Karen Simply Soft Blue. So this was from another project. The purple, that's a Red Heart purple. Actually, that purple, I had one giant, I think it was a Red Heart Super Saver, because I made a purple slouchy hat, dread hat for my hair, and it's purple, and this was what was left over from that project, the purple. And let's see, this is some green and some blue. These two colors, this yarn was part of a specific cake that I had that I was using. So that's the leftovers from that project. This is the Hobby Lobby yarn that I'm currently using. That was leftover. This white was a leftover yarn. Can you see that? Yes, here we go. The white was a leftover. And the yellow, I think that yellow, this yellow was a Red Heart Saver yellow, I believe it is. And this purple, that was a leftover project. This was a leftover project from a scarf that I made, a beaded scarf, and I had some yarn left over, so I used it in this. And let's see, this yarn right here, this is an old Red Heart. Yes, this yarn right here, this is a Red Heart Super Saver yarn, and I think I made a scarf with this. I made a scarf with this particular yarn, and so I had a little left over, and I made several granny squares with that. So I really have been taking my own advice and using leftover yarn for leftover yarn in my projects. And so that's what this project is, just basically leftover yarn. And have you ever made a granny blanket before? I find making granny squares to be so comforting and, you know, just so relaxing. And it is, it's really relaxing. And here's a question that a lot of people have about granny square blankets. The first and main question is, how do you keep your granny square looking like a square? Because this is a square. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's a trick to it. Because when I first started making granny square blankets or Afghans, I was screwing it up really bad. And, you know, even though making granny squares is a really good foundational, a foundational technique, but what I've also learned is that, yes, it is foundational and it's a basic technique, but if you screw it up, you know, it's just, it don't look good at all. It looks wonky as F, for real. So I made maybe 3 granny square blankets. 3. Literally 3 granny square blankets or Afghans that were wonky as F. And the reasons why, and I think I'll let you see them. I have to pull them out. They're packed away somewhere. The reason why they look wonky like that is because, number one, the square was not correct. Okay, it wasn't a square. It was something. It wasn't a rectangle, but it wasn't a square. Not quite. The next thing that I did wrong was, instead of my work being done, my granny clusters, instead of you going through the stitches of the granny square cluster, what I was doing was going into the space. Let me see if I can get something here. What I was doing was I was going through this space and making my clusters. So when you go through this space like this to make your clusters, what you're doing is you're pulling on this existing stitch, and what happens is that your granny square doesn't become a square anymore. It becomes some type of wonky looking thing, and it's not exactly a square. And so you have an issue, you have a problem there with it. And that's another reason why my granny squares was looking just wonky and not a square. So what you have to remember when you're making granny squares, and that's my husband just coming in. Hi, Jean.
Hey, Tracy.
What you have to remember when you're making granny squares is that you have to make sure that you stay within your stitches, within the stitch pattern. You also, and I'm going to show you what the trick is to making to keeping your granny square a square and not looking wonky-ish. What you also have to do is you have to turn your work. And that's the secret. Besides what I just said would sound really crazy, that I'm sure you're not doing, but what I did, you have to turn your work. And the reason why you have to turn your work is because when you turn your work, it keeps your square a square. So in order for me to keep this square a square as I did, I have to turn my work. So that meant that when I finished on this side, going all the way around, all 4 corners, when I finished this side, what I had to do was I had to turn it. Turn my work and start on a whole other corner and begin. And the secret to keeping your granny square a square is turning your work, but you need to mark it. You need to mark your sides so that you know so that you know basically what side that you're currently working on or finished, so that you can go to the next side. So like on this, granny square already. I am currently on this particular side, right? And so I have my stitch marker right here, but I have a stitch marker elsewhere on this blanket, and I keep stitch markers on my blanket. Yeah, here it is right here. I have another stitch marker that's right here, and this stitch marker lets me know that what side I'm currently working on. So when I finish this particular side, what I do is I remove the stitch marker and then I place it on the opposite side of the blanket so that I can begin again on the opposite side, which means I'm going to keep my square a square. Yes, it's true. It's true. I can't remember who told me to turn my work like that, because like I said, I made 3 Granny Afghans, and I'm gonna tell you, there are some things wrong with that Afghan. All 3 of the Afghans, and it either had to do with the stitching, the way that I was stitching, and it also had to do with the fact that my granny square was not really a square. So those are things that you have to, that I discovered while making granny square Afghans, and something that you may find useful in your journey if you are a granny square type of person and that's what you want to do. But I'm going to start working on this Afghan, and that's going to be my journey for the next couple of days, is working on this Afghan. I've also started working on another 2 Afghans. I think I was working on each of those during on my channel here, but I'm going to show you the progress that I've made that's coming along with those Afghans shortly. But it's 27 minutes after the hour, so let's get some chatting in. Right now, where did I put the yarn that I'm going to use for this project? Okay, here it is. Oh my goodness, the things that we all go through in this world of crocheting. So what are you working on? I'm putting my crochet there because I can't find my crocheting yarn. I'm just having so many difficulties today in my tiny studio. It's just always something, you go through one thing and you think that you have certain things together and done and organized, and then you find out, oh, you don't really have it organized at all. You think that you have this and that and the other going on, and then you discover, no, you really don't have these things going on at all. It's just an illusion. It's just a freaking illusion. So what do you watch on TV? Yesterday I was attempting to watch the Real Housewives of California, or I should say the Real Housewives of the OC. Yeah, the OG of the franchise. And let me tell you something. I was sitting there watching the Real Housewives of the OC, and I started watching it, and then I got disgusted and I turned it off. Yeah, that's me. I get disgusted and frustrated sometimes with a show, and I just decide that I don't want to watch it anymore. I just decide I'm just sick of this mess. And that's what happened to me. The Real Housewives of Orange County used to be a really good show. I stopped watching it within the last 3 or 4 seasons when they got rid of Vicky and they got rid of Tamara. I just stopped watching it. I'm like, you got rid of the OGs. What's the point? You know, what's the point anymore? And so I stopped watching the show. And oh, another reason why I stopped watching was because they started bringing on these crazy housewives. You know, you had that crazy Kelly chick on there, and then you had Kelly, and who else? You had that woman. Her name was Lydia. She was so judgmental. To be so young, she was very judgmental. You had Lydia. She was a kook. Let me see. Who else? Kelly, Lydia. Oh, the lesbian housewife, the lesbian lady. I mean, I guess she's really not a lesbian. She's bisexual. I don't know, and I really don't care. And her storyline confused me, and she confused me because then it turns out that she used to be she was an alcoholic or something. Who knows? Her husband was going to stay with her even though she was gay. I just, I didn't understand it, and I just thought the show was just stupid. Just stupid. And it was something else about that show. You had Kelly, you had the gay housewife. They tried to bring back Lydia. Then you had the two new housewives, Emily and Gina. Oh, I couldn't stand them. They got on my lap, and they still get on my last nerve. Now you have Heather Dubrow is back. I really liked her, so I started watching again because Heather is back. I started watching because Heather is back, and now that the lesbian lady is gone and Kelly is gone, and she just got on my last nerve. I think, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard that the reason why Heather left was because of Kelly, and Heather said that she will only come back if they got rid of Kelly. I don't know how true that is. It's probably just rumor and innuendo and all that other stuff, but you know what they say about rumors, it's always based in a little fact. But I don't know if it's true. And remember, anything that I'm saying on here when it comes to things of that nature, it's all commentary in my opinion and alleged. Okay? Alleged. So I don't know exactly why Heather Dubrow is back, but she is. And I started watching Real Housewives of Orange County because Heather Dubrow came back. But, as we beginning to find out, it really doesn't matter, does it? Because, you still got the rest of these kooks on here. So you still have that Gina lady. You still have her with her hunchback self. And then you have Emily with her husband, who is just so, I don't even know why she is with that man. She must don't see what we see. She must don't see in the mirror what we see about her on camera, because her husband says so many, negative things about her, and he's so sarcastic in a really off-putting way. just off-putting. He says some sly things to her, some slick things to, Emily, and I be saying to myself, girl, did you hear what your man just said? Did you hear what your man just said about you, girl? On national TV? Girl, what kind of marriage you got going on over there? Those are the things that I say when I listen to Emily's husband. But actually, I don't even know why she's on the show, because for her to be so alphabet up, which I mean, what I mean is that she's an educated woman. Well, for having so many alphabet letters behind her name, it just baffles me that she behaves in the manner that she does. It really does. And that Gina lady, I turned off the TV last night because she got on my nerves really bad. What was she doing? For the past couple of weeks, she's been going around telling anybody who will listen that Shannon Bador Storms, or Shannon Storms Bador, or whatever name Shannon's going by these days. She is going around telling the friend group that Shannon is jealous of her. And she based that fact off of a dinner or a luncheon that Shannon had at her home, right? Where Gina proceeded to tell the friend group that she had started some type of skincare line or whatever business that Gina decided to begin, and that she was so happy. And because Shannon didn't react in the manner that Gina felt was necessary and appropriate in that time, she proceeds to tell everybody that she believes that Shannon is jealous of her. Shannon is jealous of me and she thinks she's better than me and she's not happy for me and all this other stuff, when we see that the reason that Shannon reacted in the manner that she did was because she was high. She had been eating edibles. Heather DeBraw had brought over some edibles, and Shannon had been indulging. Okay, so yeah, the response that you wanted, Gina, was not going to be the response you was going to get, because the woman was high. But anyhow, this Gina girl, she just I'm not gonna wear a hunchback self. I'm not gonna be talking about this, and you are just arrogant and you don't know what you're talking about, and you are just so jealous of me. Why in the world would Shannon be jealous of you, sis? And that's why I stopped watching, because I got mad. Because I got upset. Because this Gina lady, she's always doing something that doesn't make sense. It's some people on these shows that I say to myself, I can see why your husband left you. And that's so terrible. I am so bad for saying that, but I'm just going to be honest with you. Some of these women whose husbands leave them, child, I know why. I now know why. I understand it. I get it. Because you guys act like you don't have any kind of sense. You act ridiculous. And I just don't understand what is the deal and why you act the way you do. It doesn't make sense to me. It just does not make any sense. It's just baffling to me. And why? Why would Shannon, of all people, be upset with you? Why would she not be happy for you? And here's the thing about Shannon. I wonder if this woman has ever watched The Real Housewives of Orange County before, because Shannon came. Did you know when Shannon was married that her house could fit like 3 of yours, Gina? I'm confused. Why would Shannon be jealous of you? What is it that you are doing that's so spectacular that Shannon Bedore Storms is jealous or should be jealous of you? I don't get it. Can you explain it to me? It's not like you went into your kitchen, all right, and you came up with some type of formula, all right? You mixed some things together. Okay, and then you said, hey, here's a skincare line. I just created a skincare line. Let me go ahead and put a patent or whatever on that, and let me go ahead and sell it. That wasn't you, babe. We know it wasn't you. We know you're not a chemist. You're not an inventor. You're not any of those things. You just went ahead and found some product to stick your name on and decide to sell it. And it is you, sis, that are acting as if you are better than everybody else. Okay? Because you think that what you've done is just such a wonderful thing. You think that what you've done is such an amazing feat. Isn't that the same thing that Kylie Jenner did? Okay, it wasn't like Kylie Jenner was in a chemist lab with a pen and a pad, coming up and experimenting with things. She didn't do that either. She just slapped her name on some stuff as well. Let's be honest. So you're not doing anything spectacular. You're not doing anything that hasn't already been done. Okay, you're not blazing a trail or a path that wasn't already created and cemented over in the first place. And that's why I had to shut the TV down, because I was like, this woman is crazy. This woman's not making any sense at all. And I really can't sit back. It really makes me upset with myself when I entertain ignorance. And so I had to tell myself, if this is going to be the storyline for the rest of the season of the Real Housewives of Orange County, I guess I won't be watching again. Now, I also watched the Real Housewives of New Jersey. And of course, I like that show, but I missed most of it. I got a chance to see the first maybe 20 minutes. And the first 20 minutes, I believe, had to do with Jennifer and Margaret. And they met up at a coffee shop, I think. And, Jennifer had the opportunity to, I guess, apologize to Margaret, but most so Margaret got a chance to, listen to Jennifer talk about how she felt about the fact that Margaret let the cat out the bag about her husband, Jennifer's husband, having an affair on her 10 years ago. And even though Margaret said, well, I apologize for bringing this out, because Jennifer eventually said, well, nobody knew about it. My own mother, my own sisters didn't know that my husband had an affair on me. And now I had to tell my children, and I feel bad, and all this other stuff. And you know what I say about that? I say bullshit. Jennifer and her husband had to know that once they joined a reality TV series, that all their secrets was going to come busting out of the closet. And it was going to come busting out of the closet either by them bringing it out, or someone was going to reveal it. That's how it works on reality TV. Someone is going to reveal your skeletons. So either you push those skeletons out the closet yourself and put a party hat on it and write the script and the narrative on your own secrets and lies, or someone else on the cast is going to do it for you. That's how reality TV works. So when Jennifer said, my family didn't know, and I had to tell my children, I felt really bad, and it's a hurt that I haven't gotten over, and I don't know, I haven't dealt with. Of course, I understand what Margaret's position is. Margaret felt sad that, she brought this up and brought this to the fore or to the floor on camera. I get that. But the other side of that, Jennifer is a bitch. Jennifer on this particular show, okay, on camera, she is a real one. So I can understand why Margaret pulled out the trump card and just let it be known. Look, sis, I'm sick of your mess. I'm sick of you talking about me. I'm sick of your judgmental ways. You have some nerve, being that you have gone through a situation where your husband has cheated on you. So you, of all people, should be shutting your trap on me, because you know all about it. And I think Margaret pulled that card out of her hat because Margaret got tired of the mess. She did. She got tired of the mess. She got tired of Jennifer pretending like she has the happy marriage and criticizing everybody else. And come to find out, your house ain't all that either. Your marriage ain't all that either. Okay? Your marriage ain't all that either. Your husband stepped out on you. Just like Margaret stepped out on her husband because her marriage was ridiculous, or whatever she said it was broken, severely broken. Jennifer, your husband stepped out on you for the very same reason. And according to you, you guys never dealt with it the way you should have. So what's going on in your marriage these days? You know, is Aiden cheating on you now? I don't know. Do you know? Who knows? And just remember, all of this commentary is alleged. Okay? It's alleged. It's just my opinion. I don't know these people. I'm just talking about what I've seen on television. So you had that situation going on with, and that was basically all I saw. And then we find out that Jennifer was supposedly doing the dirty work for Teresa, and that whole Jackie's husband was cheating. What's Jackie's husband name? Evan. And that whole Evan is cheating ridiculousness. We kind of find out that Jennifer was going around asking people and trying to dig up information on the situation at the behest of Teresa. And then when you watch the after show and you listen to Teresa and Jennifer talk about this very thing, they act as if, oh, you know, this was a real life rumor and I just wanted to know. Well, why is it your business, Teresa Giudice? Or Teresa Gorga? Why is it your business to know about whether somebody is cheating on their husband or their wife or not? I distinctly recall, Teresa, when the rumor and the spotlight was on you. Remember that? Remember when we found out that your husband was cheating on you? Do you remember that? Remember that phone conversation that your husband, Juicy Joe, had with somebody on the other line somewhere off camera where he was talking about you? Like a dog. All right. Remember those allegations that came out about Joe and the secretary getting it on at his office and that you walked in? Wasn't that Carolyn Manzo's sister-in-law that told us that piece of tea, or poured us that piece of juicy tea, hot steaming tea, and you denied it. That's not happening. That's not real. That's not what's going on. I don't like it. I don't like this stuff. But you know what? Who doesn't think that Joe Giudice cheated on Teresa? Who doesn't think that? Probably just Teresa. And I don't think Teresa believes that. I think Teresa knows that her husband cheated on her. She knows Juicy Joe did. We all know that. And remember, this is all just commentary. This is just my opinion. I don't know anything. I'm not in those people's bedrooms. I'm just going on what I heard on television. But I'm just saying that to say this. Teresa started some rumors about somebody else's husband and situation. And then when she's confronted with her own situation with this new man that she's with, Louis, and hear all these allegations and rumors and things swirling around him, as you know they will, because of why? He's on camera on a national television show. When it happens again in the reverse to Teresa, she doesn't like it. But she was the same person last year that was at the head of all the rumors about Evan. But this year, she doesn't want anybody saying anything about Louis. Ooh, child. I'm telling you, see, these people couldn't be my real life friends. And you know why? Because I would have been told them that. I would have been said, listen, girl, you need to shut up with that mess. Okay? Because last year, it wasn't that too long ago when you were spreading rumors about Evan. It wasn't that long ago. It was just last year, and you did it. And you did it at their anniversary party. Wasn't it Jackie and Evan's anniversary, or was it Evan's birthday party? I can't remember. But anyhow, you had the audacity to be spreading rumors that you You probably made up your own darn self at somebody's birthday party or anniversary party. That was you. But nobody can say anything about Louis. And here's the thing. Why do we believe that Teresa's going to make such a stellar choice in choosing a romantic partner? Okay, this is the same woman who picked Joe Giudice to be her husband. So what would make us think that she has these type of skills, matchmaking skills or mate choosing skills, that she could be able to pick a good man? Why would we even think that? Why would we think that she would? I think the person that she should have got with was the pool guy. And he looked like he really liked her. And he was cute. All of those things. But, she picked who she picked. And you have to pick who you love. Another thing that she did that I would not advise anybody to do is she purchased property with this man and moved in with him before they were even married. They're not even married yet. She said they're supposed to be getting married this summer. So that's what they're getting ready to do. So, I don't know. These days, people do the strangest things. But to me, when you're buying property with somebody, if you're buying property with them and you are in a romantic relationship with them, you better make sure you have all that legal stuff together. So just in case the relationship break up, you could just sell that property and move on. But I really don't understand why people do that. Why not just get married first and then buy a house and get all the legalities together and, get your prenup going on and get your lawyer and decide, hey, if we break up, this is how we're going to divide everything. I don't understand why people do it the other way. To me, that's a little backwards, but, I am 54 years old, and I admit times change. People's perceptions on life and love change, and this is what you do. But, I don't advise it. I wouldn't advise doing something like that. But that's not my relationship, so I can't make the call on that. Oh, you know what? Earlier in this video, I was talking about how my Granny Afghan became wonky, and I said it was because I was going through stitches. That's not true. With the Granny cluster, what you do is you go into your space, right? And then you go and you make your cluster. So you're going to go under the stitch with a Granny cluster. You see what I'm doing? I'm going under into that space there, under the stitch. Now what I was doing was I was going, instead of going under the stitch, I was going through the top stitch like this. I was going through that stitch instead of going under the stitch. And let me show you what difference it makes. Okay, so as you see, since I went through this stitch, what it does is it pulls on this stitch. And what's going to happen if I continue with that cluster in the stitch in that manner, it's going to pull on the stitch. And as you go around, it pulls on that particular cluster going through the stitch, pulls on the stitch, and it just, it lifts the stitch to a point where it doesn't become a square anymore, or it becomes a wonky looking square. And that's what happened. I have to find those Afghans so I can show you what it looks like. But that's what happened. What you want to do is you want to make sure you're going under that stitch. So here I go, I'm going under the stitch. And when I realized that I was making that mistake and how to remedy it, I felt so much better, because I'm going to tell you, I jacked up some granny square Afghans. I really did. But they're so cute. And I don't know if I want to frog it, because you know they're large, and to me they're cute, and that was a lot of work. You know, making a granny Afghan is not you know, for the faint at heart. It's not a simple task. It is, you know, it's a lot of work. So, you know, you can just tell, look, you know, that's a lot of work. And I don't think that I'm going to frog it at all. But I will use it as an example so that other people can see where I went wrong. So that was one of the places, one of the areas where I went wrong on my Granny Afghan. And the other place I went wrong is the fact that I never turned my work. And you have to turn your work. You have to turn your work. Granny square clusters are just double crochet. Granny square clusters are three double crochets in the same stitch. So here I am. I have three double crochet stitches within the same space, and that's what makes up a granny cluster. I have a couple of freeform Afghans that I'm working on right now that feature the granny cluster. And again, what's the granny cluster? The granny cluster is 3 double crochets into one space or one stitch. Okay, it is 56 minutes after the hour. So we've been chatting for almost an hour. So thank you so much for tuning in to Simply Nailed. And this edition of Simply Nailed is just crochet and chat. And thank you for paying attention and listening to me as I gab on about things that are, you know, things that's going on in my life, or things that, you know, I'm checking out on television. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope that you have subscribed to my channel. If you have any comments or suggestions on cool shows to watch on television, please leave them in the comment section. And don't forget to like, man. Don't forget to like. Also share. Please share my video. So thank you so much for tuning in. It has been almost an hour, and I will see you next time on Simply Nail Crochet and Chat. Bye bye.